And I was really disappointed to hear about what the Polymega is going to end up being. This was a modular system that was announced a while back that, as you can see here, could support a number of different game consoles with cartridges, and there was also a CD ROM drive built into the base unit for PlayStation, Sega CD, Saturn, and Neo Geo CD, and that was kind of an exciting thing to have this really nice looking console. But I was most excited about the fact that they were hinting at FPGA-based simulation of these games, which is going to be far more accurate than software emulation. But unfortunately, with the final hardware now taking pre-orders, it is just going to be running software emulation with an Intel processor. So in many ways, this is a cool-looking device, but hardware-wise and functionality-wise, it's no different than a cheap mini PC with a CD-ROM drive attached to it. It's probably just going to be dumping ROMs off cartridges and dumping ISOs off of CDs and executing them in software like anything else would. And it's pretty pricey, as you can see here, too. I mean, I would be more inclined to pay this much money if it did have some unique hardware driving it, but it really doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And what it'll do is basically run stuff on the CD on the lower module, and then if you wanted to play a Super Nintendo game, for example, you have to make sure you own the Super Nintendo module, click it in, and then attach your cartridges to it. So you can buy the base system for about $250 or so, and then each of the modules is $60 each. But again, it's just kind of a cartridge dumper here and not something unique with some kind of special way of getting those games executed. So I don't think the performance of it is going to be all that different than what you might see with a Retron 5, minus the fact that it supports the TurboGrafx and it has a CD-ROM capability to it. But I think for a lot of folks with a lot of cartridges sitting around, the Retron 5, of course, with all of its software violations, might be the better option here because it costs less and will deliver essentially the same experience. And what's happening in the consumer market is that people are buying these cheap flashback consoles from AT Games. They have been terrible for years, but they keep selling them and they keep making them because they show up in a CVS or Walgreens or one of these cheap little retailers out there, and they're very inexpensive. They look nostalgic. You buy them for your friends and family for gifts. They play with them for 20 minutes, and for some reason they keep making more and keep selling more, and that's really the market they're entering here, is that if you're going to be doing something for enthusiasts, you got to do something like what Analog did, which is provide a unique hardware simulation experience that delivers the most accurate way to get your games on your HD television. We, of course, looked at the Analog NT Mini here on the channel many times, which runs the NES games, but also has some additional firmware to run a bunch of other 8-bit consoles. And then, of course, the new Super NT, which is just a fabulous FPGA-based SNES device that is probably better than the original, and it looks great on your television, and the timings are perfect. Everything about these FPGA-based consoles is great. They have a premium price, but they also are doing something very unique in hardware to, in my opinion, warrant the price you're paying for them. The Polymega doesn't seem to be doing that for me just yet. So they did hint a little bit at the fact that they might have the ability to add on FPGA modules in the future to make it more unique, but for right now, I think you're better off just playing around with your PC emulation, and if you ever hit a wall there and there's something the Polymega can do when it comes out that might be better, maybe it's worth considering, but for now it doesn't seem much more than a very expensive mini PC to me. Now, by contrast, I wanted to show you this thing that I saw the other day on Facebook. This is the Coleco Phoenix, which is in development by Collector Vision Games. It's probably going to be pricey, but it is running with an FPGA-based processor. So flash cards should work, and it's also going to apparently work with the original ColecoVision controllers, complete with the number pad. Now, I can run Coleco games on my Analog NT Mini, but I can't use the original Coleco controller that I used when I was a kid, so it's often hard to get all the numbers right on that. So it'd be kind of cool to actually have something that just works with the original stuff, and that's really, I think, what you need to do if you're going to sell a product like this to a very niche market at a high price. It's got to be unique and different, and if this thing does what they say it's going to do, it will be unique and different. And I'm going to probably pre-order one of these because I've got a bunch of Coleco cartridges that I haven't booted up since the 80s, and I'm just eager to do that again on my big 60-inch TV upstairs. My controllers are sitting in the other room there ready to go, so I'll keep an eye on this one and we'll see where it goes. But this really, again, is an example of what you need to do in order to make something like this successful in this retro market, because this is not a mass market device and you got to approach it in a unique way, which unfortunately the Polymega folks are currently not doing.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Chris Allegretta, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Gerard Newberg, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.